David's valedictory address. David called together all the leaders of Israel, tribal administrators, heads of various governmental operations, military commanders and captains, stewards in charge of the property and livestock belonging to the king and his sons, everyone who held responsible positions in the kingdom. King David stood tall and spoke, "Listen to me, my people. I fully intended to build a permanent structure for the chest of the covenant of God, God's footstool. But when I got ready to build it, God said to me, 'You may not build a house to honor me. You've done too much fighting, killed too many people. God chose me out of my family to be king over Israel forever. First he chose Judah as the lead tribe, then he narrowed it down to my family, and finally he picked me from my father's sons, pleased to make me the king over all Israel. And then from all my sons, and God gave me many. He chose my son Solomon to sit on the throne of God's rule over Israel.' He went on to say, 'Your son Solomon will build my house and my courts. I have chosen him to be my royal adopted son, and I will be to him a father. I will guarantee that his kingdom will last if he continues to be as strong-minded in doing what I command and carrying out my decisions as he is doing now.' And now, in this public place, all Israel looking on and God listening in, as God's people. Obey and study every last one of the commandments of your God so that you can make the most of living in this good land and pass it on intact to your children, ensuring a good future. And you, Solomon my son, get to know well your father's God, serve him with a whole heart and eager mind, for God examines every heart and sees through every motive. If you seek him, he'll make sure you find him, but if you abandon him, he'll leave you for good. Look sharp now. God has chosen you to build his holy house. Be brave, determined, and do it." Then David presented his son Solomon with the plans for the temple complex, porch, storerooms, meeting rooms, and the place for atoning sacrifice. He turned over the plans for everything that God's Spirit had brought to his mind, the design of the courtyards, the arrangements of rooms, and the closets for storing all the holy things. He gave him his plan for organizing the Levites and priests in their work of leading and ordering worship in the house of God, and for caring for the liturgical furnishings. He provided exact specifications for how much gold and silver was needed for each article used in the services of worship, the gold and silver lampstands and lamps, the gold tables for consecrated bread, the silver tables, the gold forks, the bowls and the jars, and the incense altar. And he gave him the plan for sculpting the cherubs with their wings outstretched over the chest of the covenant of God, the cherubim throne. "Here are the blueprints for the whole project as God gave me to understand it," David said. David continued to address Solomon, "Take charge. Take heart. Don't be anxious or get discouraged. God, my God, is with you in this. He won't walk off and leave you in the lurch. He's at your side until every last detail is completed for conducting the worship of God. You have all the priests and Levites standing ready to pitch in, and skillful craftsmen and artisans of every kind ready to go to work. Both leaders and people are ready. Just say the word. They get ready to build." Then David the king addressed the congregation, "My son Solomon was singled out and chosen by God to do this. But he's young and untested and the work is huge. This is not just a place for people to meet each other, but a house for God to meet us. I've done my best to get everything together for building this house for my God, all the materials necessary, gold, silver, bronze, iron, lumber, precious and varicolored stones, and building stones, vast stockpiles. Furthermore, because my heart is in this, in addition to and beyond what I have gathered, I'm turning over my personal fortune of gold and silver for making this place of worship for my God, 3,000 talents, about 113 tons, of gold, all from Ophir, the best, and 7,000 talents, 214 tons, of silver for covering the walls of the buildings, and for the gold and silver work by craftsmen and artisans. And now, how about you? Who among you is ready and willing to join in the giving?" Ready and willing, the heads of families, leaders of the tribes of Israel, commanders and captains in the army, stewards of the king's affairs, stepped forward and gave willingly. They gave 5,000 talents, 188 tons, and 10,000 darics, 185 pounds, of gold, 10,000 talents of silver, 377 tons, 18,000 talents of bronze, 679 tons, and 100,000 talents, 3,775 tons, of iron. Anyone who had precious jewels put them in the treasury for the building of the temple of God in the custody of Jehiel the Gershonite. And the people were full of a sense of celebration, all that giving. And all given willingly, freely. King David was exuberant. David blessed God in full view of the entire congregation. Blessed are you, God of Israel, our Father from of old and forever. To you, O God, belong the greatness and the might, the glory, the victory, the majesty, the splendor, yes. Everything in heaven, everything on earth, the kingdom all yours. You've raised yourself high over all. Riches and glory come from you, you're ruler over all, you hold strength and power in the palm of your hand to build up and strengthen all. And here we are, O God, our God, giving thanks to you, praising your splendid name. But me, who am I, and who are these my people, that we should presume to be giving something to you? Everything comes from you, all we're doing is giving back what we've been given from your generous hand. As far as you're concerned, we're homeless, shiftless wanderers like our ancestors, our lives mere shadows, hardly anything to us. God, our God, all these materials, these piles of stuff for building a house of worship for you, honoring your holy name, it all came from you. It was all yours in the first place. I know, dear God, that you care nothing for the surface, you want us, our true selves, and so I have given from the heart, honestly and happily. And now see all these people doing the same, giving freely, willingly, what a joy. O God, God of our fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, keep this generous spirit alive forever in these people always, keep their hearts set firmly in you. And give my son Solomon an uncluttered and focused heart so that he can obey what you command, live by your directions and counsel, and carry through with building the temple for which I have provided. David then addressed the congregation, bless God, your God. And they did it, blessed God, the God of their ancestors, and worshipped reverently in the presence of God and the king. The very next day they butchered the sacrificial animals and offered in the worship of Israel to God 1,000 bulls, 1,000 rams, 1,000 sheep, and in addition drink offerings and many other sacrifices. They feasted all day, eating and drinking before God, exuberant with joy. Then they ceremonially reenacted Solomon's coronation, anointing David's son before God as their leader, and Zadok as priest. Solomon sat on the throne of God as king in place of David his father. And everything went well, all Israel obeyed him. All the leaders of the people, including all the sons of King David, accepted Solomon as their king and promised their loyalty. Solomon rode high on a crest of popular acclaim, it was all God's doing. God gave him position and honor beyond any king in Israel before him. David son of Jesse ruled over all Israel. He was king for 40 years. He ruled from Hebron 7 years and from Jerusalem 33. He died at a ripe old age, full of days, wealth, and glory. His son Solomon ruled after him. The history of David the king, from start to finish, is written in the Chronicles of Samuel the seer, Nathan the prophet, and Gad the seer, including a full account of his rule, his exploits, and the times through which he and Israel and the surrounding kingdoms passed.